done. I was in charge of the garment dyeing and also of the novelty washes such as that tie-dye, dip dyes, mineral
Mm-hmm.
wash, stone wash, and what have you. I was in charge of all of that, and every time with the trend of the market, I have to find ways to duplicate that effect or make it even better. And that
Oh,
was another way where I use my own customers to give me orders on those, or I was seeking new customers, and eventually they end up buying fabric from us. So one thing pulls the other.
right. So you essentially also found ways to make this, like, the things that existed in the market, you found ways to make them even better, right? By mixing,
Absolutely.
playing with the, right, by playing with the textile chemicals, right? You
Yes.
played around with the textile chemical
Well,
compositions,
not
right?
only chemicals, but there's like again, when it comes to tie dye, for example, there's certain technique. You tie the fabric a certain way, and you dye it with certain chemicals to give you one effect. If you tie it a different way, you dye it with the different chemicals, then it gives you a different look. So there's so many different ways you play with the fabric and how you tie it or how you process it, and then you change chemicals with it or the dyes, and each one gives you different.
Right. Could you give me like list these different things, like just a couple of them that you like, the parameters of the stuff that you change to like produce better
For
fabrics, or
example,
like.
you can use a discharge chemical
Mhm.
on a direct dye fabric. It will discharge kind of a grayish color. If you use the discharge chemical on a reactive color, it will discharge an orangey color. And the result is, depending on what dyes you use the same chemical, it gives you different look. So many times, some people they say, "Okay, Sam, listen, this is a sweater. I want it to be dyed orange and this black, for example." And I say, "Hey, listen, why do you want to do two processes? We can do one process where we take your fabric, your shirt that is dyed black. We just process it with that kind of discharge chemical, and you get two different colors." Like, oh, really? Yes. We do it. We try. It works beautiful, and that's how we get more orders.
Oh, that is beautiful. All right. And after this is okay. So what you do is change the chemicals. You also change the play with the dyes. You
Yes.
also change the machine
Tech
settings, like the temperature and stuff like
Machine
that, right?
setting techniques, how you do things.
Right,
Everything gives you a different look
right.
or feel.
Okay. Right. Okay. Develop new textile components and platforms. Uh,
Yes, well, I think we already talked about that, right? That same as customization, new textile.
mhm.
We make up
Sam
new
Silicon.
fabric.
Yeah, Sam Silicon. We already talked about Sam Silicon.
Well, this is new textile components the SAM silicone is more like in the finishing part, but the textiles is more like in the sale of fabric where you choose the
Oh,
components, the yarns and so forth, and then we can match it.
right.
And that
So,
ties up with the next one. It says introduce new yarns, fabric construction, finishing techniques. Again,
mhm,
we just take the yarn and based on what the customer wants, we can knit or weave the yarn together to give the customer exactly the same what he or she wants.
right. Okay. Manage new product development ideas from concept to prototype phase to production.
Right.
Have you done that?
Of course. For every product, you do. Let's say the customers, we said, I think a little bit, we talked like this earlier. The customer wants three components in that fabric. So we say, okay, and he says, for example, 60 inches wide. Okay, we do it. But it comes heavy. And then the
Mhm.
customer say, no, it's too heavy. I want it to be a little bit lighter. So, okay, lighter, what do we take? We take everything, cut everything 20% off weight, or we eliminate one or add something there, and so forth. So we go back and forth. We keep doing different prototypes until the customer approves the fabric. And once they approve the fabric, then we use the components of that prototype and weave the next order the same way.
Right. Okay. And is there any way that you expedite or make this development quicker?
Um, again, now you sound like one of the customers that I had. You know what? The process takes time. Um, and I used to make a joke. I tell the customer, listen, the process is not like a drive-through. Just give me the fabric here, and then you walk to the next window and it's done. Because we have so many cones of different fabric, and we have to mix and match different cones or different yarn per se together to make up the fabric that you want. But then by mixing it, you might tell me initially I want 50% of cone number or yarn number A, 15% of 2, and 35% of 3. When I do that mixture, you might say, well, guess what? It feels a little bit too scratchy. Can we make it a little softer? Let's reduce that yarn and then add more yarn, right? So I keep going back and forth until I match what you want. Now, going back and forth, all of that takes time. When it takes time, because when you knit something, it is not easy to knit something like blink of an eye. You have to put the yarn on the machine. The machine has to knit enough piece for us to give it to the customer, and it costs a lot of money too. So there's a lot of cost that's involved, and eventually, because of the cost, the customer find themselves they have to approve something quick, because if they keep sending us back to knit another sample, we're talking like $150, $200 every time.
Right. So is there something that you do to like how should I put it? I don't think there's anything that you can do to like reduce this process, because it's just trial and error, right?
That's correct.
More like trial.
That is correct.
Right. Right. Okay. Bridge the gap between the customer's needs and our technology. So
yes, we already talked about that. Based on the machines that we have, we tell the customer what we can do, and then that's how we bridge it.
Right. And if you don't have those machines, what do you do?
I just tell the customer, hey, listen, I cannot do it for you. Some people, they want me initially, before they want me to dye canvas, heavy canvas. The machines that we have, they were made to dye knits only, not woven. So I would say, hey, listen, I need a different machine for that. But eventually, when we had so many people asking for the same, we end up going and buy that machine. But initially, before what they wanted it, and I did not have the machine, I'll tell them, listen, I cannot do it. I don't have it.
Right. And when do you make this decision of like adding these new machines, like buying new machines or adding new machines?
Usually, somebody comes in and they have a big order. For example, let's say somebody comes in, they have 150,000 yards, and they want it dyed one color. I know the machine that I have doesn't make it. So if I can get a commitment and the customer is willing to sign a paper saying that, yes, I will give you all the fabric, you do it, but I just, go ahead and get the machine, because again, that machine by itself is like $170,000. So to make an investment, $170,000, you have to have something substantial, to support that. If I don't have the customer approved and willing to, give me that order, then I'm not going to buy that machine.
Right. Okay. Bridge the gap between the customer's needs and this is done. Leverage product innovations in other segments. You were the one who just oversaw the pre-shrinking fabric and garment dyeing divisions, right?
Yes.
So is there like in the other divisions, in other parts, like in say printing, so if there was like an innovation in that part, new system was being introduced, or new innovation or new process or new technique introduced there,
yes,
is there any way that you incorporated that or utilized that?
Now again, I know all about it, but that was not my division, not my department, but I know about it. For example, the printing machines in the past, it used to be like screens. There are different screens. Every screen is different color. And people, let's say if you want to put a flower, you need a screen for the stem, which is brown, a screen for the green color, which is the leaves, and then the screen for the red color, which is the petals, right? So every screen has a different print on it, and that's how you print the fabric. Combination of all these three, then you print a beautiful flower. Nowadays, we just got, again, that's why the owner of the company went kind of almost broke because of that, because he invested in a machine, so very expensive. But what it does is, it's almost like a Xerox machine. You give me the picture of what you want, I scan that picture in the machine. The machine takes it. Yeah, I don't care if it has 5,000 colors in it, and it will just print the colors on the fabric right away as is. This is called digital printing, and this is the newest thing. But again, it's very, very expensive. But this is the newest thing. You don't have to go old school. A little bit slower, but you don't have to incur all the costs for all the screens and all the different dyes.
Right. Okay. So how did you leverage these new technologies like that was introduced, digital printing and stuff like that? Is there any way like the exact thing that I'm looking for, the thing in the job that was said was like research innovations that are happening within other business segments, and
Uh,
envision how that can be applied to your division?
well, again, I was not in charge of printing, but again, I have the answer for that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Traveling, going outside, many times we learn different people. Like let's say in Europe they have different printing machines. In Korea they have different machines. In China they have different kind of machines. When knowing what each one of the machine does and listening to what the customer wants, so obviously you have to look for the one that makes more sense and where you maximize on your revenues or profits. We want to get the machine that does the job right, and that's most economical or feasible. And
Right.
so you research different companies and you see which one works out best and which one costs at least the right amount of money that's manageable, and then we go from there.
Okay. Right. Okay. Streamline production. We already talked about securing new customer accounts.
Yes,
Streamline production schedule. We already talked about that too.
yes.
Um, Meet,
Meet and
exceed
exceed a
customer
customer expectation. Yes.
efficiently and cost effectively. We already talked about that too. Initiate leads, staff safety and development programs. Okay, this thing we haven't talked about this.
Now,
Uh,
staff safety and development programs. Be honest with you, I did not have it before when I had so little employees. But eventually, being in California, you have to be OSHA compliant, and I needed to go take a class in that. And you, being a supervisor and looking after all these employees, I got always, if I see something hazardous, I gotta let them know. Something that is not okay, whatever doesn't make sense, you let them know. For the most part, it is common sense, but sometimes people don't see certain things, like being
right.
electrocuted. I have a loose wire electricity and I have a lot of water on the floor. You can easily be electrocuted. So, again, these are common sense that you don't. But eventually, what I did, maybe about 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, I had an outside agent. He came in and he would give him lectures every 6 months, a lecture of almost 2 hours. And
Okay.
they all sign off on it, and that's how we adapted new safety programs.
Okay. And this was for OSHA compliance, right? Right.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Right. That is wonderful. All right. Drive continuous quality improvement. Identify critical issues, mitigate issues by devising corrective measures. We already talked about a couple of this, like a couple of times when you did that quality improvement. But is there anything that you want to add to this?
Um, I just want to say that I thought it was very important. Many, many times we learn from our mistakes. Um, quality, of course, everybody wants the best quality, but the way I see it, doing it over the years, many, many times, the best quality comes from learning from your mistakes. When you make a mistake, the next time I shouldn't do it this way, I should do it that way. You
Right.
end up getting better results, but eventually you're going to find that there's also a better way to do it if you tweak it and make it this way and that way instead. So over the years, yes, we always improved on quality and learn from experience that certain things work out better than others.
Right. And by experience, you mean like based on like customer satisfaction and like when you test the
Exactly.
quality. Right.
For example, like going back to Sam Silicone, the customer says, "Sam, I want it very, very soft." We use softener, but then I start using another softener or double softener. Customer says, "Okay, it's not as soft as I want, but it's okay." Uh, Later on, I found out that I can, instead of using double dose of softener, I use another softener that's equal to both. Same price, So hey, guess what? That's better for me. But eventually, I did the Sam Silicone, which is I don't know. It's been sticking there for some time now, and I could not find something better than that.
Okay. So, has there ever been a time where you identified like a very critical quality issue that you didn't see before? Like you suddenly saw that there is this critical quality issue, and then you fix that so that to ensure that this doesn't happen again. Like something
Yes,
went wrong in the machine, and like the garment came out wrong, and you fix
yes,
that and put corrective measures or something like that controls. Could you explain that?
yes, absolutely. Uh, Earlier I was talking about fabric called bamboo.
Mm-hmm.
It's an eco-friendly fabric, right? It's made of bamboo actually. Um,
Mm-hmm.
when we wash fabric with shrink, usually fabric shrinks, I don't know, let's say 12, 15%. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Some fabric they shrink 20%, like canvas, for example, 15 to 20%. Crazy. So one time I had an order of bamboo. I washed it and I noticed that it shrunk 40%. I'm like, wow, that's a lot of shrinkage. I gave it back to the customer. The customer calls me back. He's mad. He's like, Sam, why didn't you wash the fabric? I said, I did already. So little did I know that the bamboo, once you wash it, I washed it first time. I took the fabric again, washed it. It shrunk more, another 40%. So,
Oh.
so that was way too much. And I said, there's something wrong. And what we did is um, I washed it a third time. Now this time it stretched like almost, I don't know, I forgot the number, 17 or 18%, something like this.
Mm-hmm.
So I found out that with the bamboo, because it was a fairly new product that we did not know how it behaves, um, depending on who knits it, where it's done, believe it or not, different countries, they have different ways of doing it. If it's in Malaysia versus if it's in China versus if it's in Indonesia, by the way, they
Mm-hmm.
are different. And depending on who's knitting it, they have different knit, and as a result, it results in different numbers, shrinkage numbers. So
Right.
what we end up doing so that we don't make that mistake again, when you give me a bamboo fabric, I'll wash the first time, I'll wash the second time, I'll wash the third time, fourth time, and fifth time. When I see that it's zero, that's it, it's not shrinking anymore, I know that we should not go beyond. But if I get a customer, they have bamboo fabric, I say, guess what? I might charge you a lot more because I'm going to have to wash it 2, 3, 4, 5 times, whatever that is. Because I
Right.
know if not, then I'm going to be liable for fabric not we did not do the job because the fabric's still shrinking. And yes,
Right. Right.
I cannot wash the fabric 3, 4 times if the customer is only going to pay me for one time. So these
Right.
are some of the corrections that we did just to make sure that we get the same quality.
Okay, so wait a second. I don't understand the second correction. You said the first correction was like you washed the fabric till like there was no more shrinkage. So what was the second one?
So let's say, so if I wash the fabric 3, 4, 5 times, right? So
Mm-hmm.
let's say first time it shrunk 40%, second time it shrunk 20%, third time it went up, it stretched 10%. The fourth time I washed it, I tested, now it's 0%. Oh, that's it. I maintained the zero number. That means from that number, it's not going to stretch, it's not going to shrink anymore. That's when I know that that's it. I don't need to wash the fabric more than so many times because the fabric's not shrinking or stretching.
Right, right, right.
And I will
It's
convey that same message to the customer, let them know that, hey, listen, your fabric, I need to do so many washes to it because I cannot get zero shrinkage until I do so many washes, and then your cost is going to be this much and that much.
right, right, right. You adjusted the cost accordingly, and you like changed the
Absolutely.
technique for wash. Okay, right, right, right. I understand.
Absolutely.
All right. Uh, we talked about this. Okay. Solve internal, external, departmental issues. This can be stuff like collaboration, inter-team collaboration, conflict, stuff like that. Have you been doing anything like that, like staff problems, staff issues, anything like that?
Now, again, what kind of issues? What is it? Legal issues? Is it accounting issues? What is it?
Well, it wasn't like the job wasn't super clear on that, but I believe this is issues in like inter-team collaboration, like collaboration with each other, or like conflict within the team, stuff like that.
Well, again, if there was any inter department issues, basically it was always scheduling. Um,
Mm-hmm.
let's say I get an order and the customer is going to buy the fabric, and I get an order After we knit the fabric, we do the fabric. I have to dye it, I have to shrink it, whatever, and I have, for example, 10 days. I know
Mhm.
the knitting is going to take 6 days, and I only have 4 days left for me to finish. If the
Mhm.
knitting ends up taking, they're backed up, and they took 8 days, I have a problem because I cannot finish everything in 2 days. So
Mhm.
there's always issues going back and forth. Most of the time, it's because of scheduling. Sometimes there are issues because maybe the customer did not pay the previous 5 bills, and I'm not going to do anything until the customer pays. I am in a position to take that decision because, again, I'm the one who collects the money. Nobody does the collection other than me. I'm not going to work for an order that the customer hasn't paid us in the past, because instead of doing that order, I'm going to do somebody else's order who pays us on time. So these are the issues that I always have to juggle to see which one is, but usually it's
Scheduling issue, right? So
scheduling
how
issues.
how did you overcome this scheduling issue?
So what I did for every process, for example, if you buy the fabric and then I have to do finishing, I put a cushion 2 days, not one day, 2 days. Most of the time, it works most of the time, and that's why when I tell people, hey, listen, your order will be done in 2 weeks. No, 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 I need 10 days. I'm sorry, 2 weeks. So I will say, okay, I'll try, but I'm telling you 2 weeks. Now the customer is expecting in 10 days, but he or she knows that it's going to take 2 weeks. But if I do fast, it'll come out in 10 days. So just doing that kind of made the customer aware that it might take 2 weeks, but I'll try to make it in 10 days. Now I'm not going to be behind because I warned the customer. It will take 2 weeks. If I'm early, nobody complains. If it's early, guess what? Your
Mhm.
order is ready. But everybody will complain if their order is late.
Right, right, right.
So
Okay.
we just took an extra cushion, 2 days per process.
Mhm.
If it's only processing, like finishing, 2 days, let's say it takes 4 days, I tell them it takes